Happy Mother's Day, by the way. You know, we live in an age of discontent. Our age is one of deep cynicism and distrust on all sides. The noisy drum beats of slogans, the jangling discords of the news, the great storms of sound bites that rain down ceaselessly upon the citizens make democracy vulnerable to those messages that are the loudest or most persistent rather than those that are most reasonable or well considered. And the waves and bits of detritus that we now endure surpass anything that previous generations ever knew. If independent judgment is the sine qua non of effective citizenship in a democracy, then we must admit that it is harder to maintain now than it has ever been before. And for this, much diligence is required. Social media in particular are the shining and alluring toys that aid us in this enterprise. We believe that we control them, however, they actually control us. A tweet here, a tweet there, an uncurated social media post everywhere, speeds around the continents, across countries, and in colleges, masquerading often as truth. Our insatiable hunger to reduce ideas and language to the lowest common denominator is now habitual and normative, and it is one of the great dangers to contemporary American society. Our discontent is a contagion that crosses all human boundaries of age, of gender, of skin color, of political affiliation, of religious beliefs or no beliefs at all, of the rich, of the poor, and everyone in between. Colleges and universities at one time, many, many years ago, when I was much younger and buoyed up by idealism, were thought to be places of critical thinking and, yes, of skepticism, but the kind of skepticism that withholds judgment until the dust settles over the facts. A place of disinterested reason and of unvarnished truth, of seeing a thing as it truly is in itself. But they, or rather we too, are not immune to this contagion. Happily, however, if we are lucky, every now and then something happens or someone appears who seems to break through the clutter. And I want to introduce you to Sheldon Brown, class of 14, Emerson College, performing arts major. Sheldon, come here. More than a year ago, Sheldon found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, a moment that changed the course of his life. Others would have given up. Not Sheldon. He kept going. Others would have said, I can't. Sheldon said, I can. As a Chicago newspaper reported on a late Saturday night, Sheldon was celebrating a friend's birthday over midnight chocolate chip cookies in the city. And on his way home, a stranger, someone not known to Sheldon, opened random fire, a bullet piercing his left buttock, tearing through his abdomen, fracturing one of his right pelvic bones, and finally lodging in his hip. As he woke in a hospital bed several hours later, he wondered how he would continue to work as an actor after everything his body had been through. And after a month in the hospital, followed by at-home care nursing, he slowly learned to walk again. He wore life-saving bags on his body to divert waste while he healed. 4 months after the shooting, he ended up back in the hospital with a blood infection and lost another 15 pounds. He said, if I was made to stay here on this planet, then there's some work I've got to do. Someone shot me, and he looked just like me. And I don't want to be the person that is living my life through vengeance, trying to say that there is a human being out there who is not a human being. Living in this world as a black man, it's dangerous, he said, because you're constantly living in a state of uncertainty. I want to be able to allow people to see us and see us as human beings and hear us and hear our voices. And that is the work that I want to do, and that is the work I've been blessed to do. Put another way, he said that he's more concerned about the circumstances that push someone to disregard human life than an arrest. I'm telling you, it takes a big, brave, and sympathetic heart to have said those words, to see the other, despite what had happened to him, as a human. No doubt horribly flawed or even deformed, but as a human. He said to be able to walk outside and say, this is who I am and this is my body, that's a beautiful thing. To walk out into the world as you are and say, here I am. I can't live in a state where people are making me feel like I don't belong. Of course I belong, because I was shot and I'm alive. 7 months later, after major surgery and rehabilitation, piles of bills and 35 pounds lost and regained, Sheldon recovered enough to leave his crutches behind and to travel to Los Angeles for the first time. He acted in a film in New York. He appeared in a storefront theater production and booked a leading role in This Bitter Earth at a local Chicago theater. Yes, Sheldon, you do belong. You spoke power to truth, but you did so and continue to do so with remarkable resiliency, humility, clarity, and compassion. In certain religious traditions, we call what you have done grace, an unmerited gift of love. You are a hero in our very prickly age, in which heroes like you seem to be in very short supply. As part of our commitment to our enduring values, Emerson established a President's Award 5 years ago to recognize leaders in our community and around the world whose actions have made a positive impact on society. And this award is given to individuals whose creative courage advances social justice, whose selfless action betters the lives of others, and whose outstanding leadership advances the common good. Sheldon Brown, class of 14, Emerson College, exemplifies all of these traits and more. Sheldon, you exemplify hope in a human form. Here's what Nelson Mandela, one of my heroes, had to say after his nearly 3-decade imprisonment at Robben Island, shortly before his ascendancy as the president at the very nation that had imprisoned him. He said, in those long and lonely years, my hunger for the freedom of my own people became a hunger for the freedom of all people, white and black. I knew as well as I knew anything that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. His was a heroic temper and a nobility that changed the course of history in modern South Africa and beyond. And in him we saw not only hope, but we saw the nobility of hope. A nobility whose expanse is difficult for most of us to apprehend, especially in today's world of discontent. So to the graduating seniors, I want you to remember Sheldon, who is one of us, who is one of you, and I want you to remember what he stood for and why. I want you to let idealism and resiliency and hope, and above all, compassion, to be your guide in life. You put your trust in these and everything else will take care of itself wherever your profession or path in life may lead you. So Sheldon, I want to give you a gift from this class to you on behalf of who you are and what you represent. So when you depart from these halls of learning, may your life work be of noble note. May you find meaning in your commitment to others. And may your memories of Emerson, whatever they may be, that they be undying. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.